In this video, you'll learn about the characteristics of the four primary tissue types: epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous tissues. The four major tissue types found in the body are nervous tissue, epithelial tissue, muscle tissue, and connective tissue. Nervous tissue is specialized for rapid communication. Epithelial tissue forms lining in the body. Muscle tissue is specialized for contraction to produce movement. And connective tissue provides support, structural support, and metabolic support for other tissues in the body. Connective tissue is the most diverse tissue type. It includes supportive tissues like the bone and cartilage. It includes fat and other types of loose connective tissue. And it also includes tendons that are a dense, fibrous connective tissue. There are three major types of muscle tissue: cardiac muscle found in the heart, smooth muscle found in the walls of hollow organs, and skeletal muscle that's found attached to bones in the body. While skeletal muscle is voluntary and we can move it on command when we decide to move our body under voluntary control, the other types of muscle tissue are involuntary. Epithelial tissue is found on the surface of the body, the skin surface, or epidermis is an example of an epithelial tissue. But a variety of organs in the body have epithelial tissue forming lining. For example, all through the gastrointestinal tract, there's epithelial tissue forming the inner lining of your stomach and your intestines. Nervous tissue is found in the brain and spinal cord, but it's also found in the peripheral nervous system in nerves and ganglia. Light microscopes are used for histology. Here we see a photomicrograph of a section from the spinal cord. That is a picture taken using a light microscope. In this picture, we can see these large cells called neurons. Here's another neuron. And then there are smaller cells over here surrounding and supporting the neuron. These are called glial cells or neuroglial cells. Skeletal muscle connects to the bone through tendon. Skeletal muscle fibers are the cells found in skeletal muscle tissue, and they're surrounded by connective tissue and attached to the bones through tendons that are another type of connective tissue. Skeletal muscle fibers are long, cylindrical shaped cells that each contain multiple nuclei. There are also alternating light-dark stripe appearance called striation, resulting from alternating light and dark bands of motor proteins found within the skeletal muscle. Cardiac muscle found within the heart has muscle fibers with a branching shape that are connected through cell junction at regions called intercalated discs. Within the intercalated discs, desmosomes anchor the cytoskeleton of adjacent cells together. So when one cell contracts, it can pull on the adjacent cell without pulling apart. Gap junctions connect the cytoplasm of adjacent cells, allowing ions to move from the cytoplasm of one cell to the next. This is important for allowing a wave of electrical excitation to spread from one cell to the next so that the heart can contract as a coordinated unit. Cardiac muscle fibers are striated, similar to skeletal muscle fibers. However, there's typically only one nucleus in each cardiac muscle fiber, and each cardiac muscle fiber has a branching shape. Smooth muscle fibers have a spindle shape with one nucleus within each smooth muscle fiber. Smooth muscle is found in the walls of the stomach and other hollow organs. Smooth muscle is also found within the eye. So you can see here, the ciliary body of the eye allows us to change the shape of the lens. The iris within the eye is also smooth muscle that regulates the diameter of the pupil to control the amount of light entering the eye. Unlike cardiac muscle and skeletal muscle, smooth muscle does not contain striations, and that's why we call it smooth muscle. Here we see a photomicrograph of the smooth muscle found in the wall of the small intestine. Photomicrograph also comes from the small intestine, zoomed in to the inner lining of the wall of the small intestine. Here we can see there's epithelial tissue, a sheet of cells that forms the inner lining. And this epithelial tissue is supported by some connective tissue that's found nearby, helping to hold the epithelial tissue in place on the inner lining of the small intestine. Cell junctions are connections between adjacent cells. As epithelial cells form sheaths, the contacting adjacent cells have tight junctions that help to prevent the movement of liquid in between the cell, and desmosomes anchor the cytoskeleton of adjacent cells together, helping to form a strong protective sheet of cells. Here we see a photomicrograph of the trachea, the windpipe that connects from your throat down towards your lung. The inner lining of this sheet of cells is epithelial tissue. Then we can see there's connective tissue found supporting that epithelial tissue. More epithelial tissue here forms glands that produce mucus to help to lubricate the surface of this epithelium. And then there's this type of connective tissue called cartilage that helps to provide structural support, holding open the trachea as we breathe. The cells of connective tissue are dispersed in a non-living extracellular matrix. Here we can see there are a variety of different cell types that are spread out with fibers that are found in between the cells. Collagen fibers are the most abundant type of extracellular fiber in connective tissues throughout the body. There are also reticular fibers that are smaller branching fibers that help provide a supportive network. And then there are elastic fibers that allow connective tissue to stretch and recoil. Fibroblasts are the type of cells that produce the extracellular fibers of connective tissue. After a fibroblast finishes producing fibers, a mature fibroblast is called a fibrocyte. Adipocytes are another type of connective tissue cell that functions to store fat. Macrophages are a type of leukocyte or white blood cell. Leukocytes, of course, are found in the blood, but they're also found in other types of connective tissue. Mesenchymal cells are a stem cell that can divide to produce more cells and differentiate or mature to form the fibroblast and adipocytes, other types of cells in connective tissue. The cells and fibers of connective tissue are surrounded by a fluid-like substance called ground substance. While ground substance of many connective tissues is a viscous liquid similar to maple syrup, in supportive connective tissue like bone, the ground substance can have hard mineral salts that allow this tissue to be more firm and supportive. fluid connective tissues like blood have ground substance that is much less viscous, allowing blood to flow easily through blood vessels circulating around the body. We can see there's three major cell types found in blood. The erythrocytes, or red blood cells, circulate around the body, transporting oxygen and carbon dioxide. Leukocytes, also known as white blood cells, help to defend against infection. And thrombocytes, also known as platelets, are important for the hemostasis blood clotting mechanism.